We have updated NIO Stock FTD data. Let's talk about it. First off, the FTDs are represented by these white lines here on the chart. This is only the short term, meaning most of the 2024 trade year for NIO. We'll look at the big picture in just a minute. But for your date and timestamp on this video, we're almost an hour and a half into market open here on Monday, December 16th, 2024. Happy Monday to you. Now, I say updated data. Here's the problem with it. This is only data up until almost the end of November. And as I just said, December 16th, that means we're missing at least 2 weeks of data. We have no idea what's going on during that time. We have to wait to see when this is reported, probably in the next couple of weeks, but we're always trailing on the FTD data and that side of things. And I think that is a valuable thing concept-wise and concept overview-wise to understand, because, for example, spikes like this, where there were over 4.5 million shares that could have been used to suppress stock price, we didn't get to see that until 2 to 4 weeks after. So we're always trailing on the FTD data. But let's go big picture, because I want to show this. And then we'll talk about kind of the short term and maybe hone back in on that. This is the big picture, the whole history of NIO stock as it's been traded in the US. And the price is depicted by the yellow, the white, again, the FTDs. And so that's when there could have been naked shorting and price suppression going on, or when we might have been kept from true price discovery. We don't really know, right? All we know is we don't know. So with that in mind, it looks to me from the chart big picture as if we have 3 different time frames. The time frame where the FTDs significantly dropped off, NIO stock price shot up and stayed up for quite a while. Then we've got this longer term downtrend over these last couple of years with elevated FTDs and the stock price eventually being brought back down to almost those 2020 levels before we saw it make its huge move. And then, of course, the first couple of years that it was traded, very, very heavy on the side of FTDs and very low stock price. Almost like these things are correlated, right? But here's a point I want to make, and I've shared it before, but I don't think I can share this enough, because I don't know how many people are truly aware of this. These 3 spikes, these elevated spikes, were much bigger than what we'd seen, unless you go all the way back to 2020, which is before the time frame where we saw NIO stock shoot up. The other thing that I think is noteworthy, and basically your key is what I've kept on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. For me anyway, the 3 short-term indicators are trade volume, and that's on the daily side of things. So for example, during this time frame where NIO stock made big moves and big moves to the upside, it was fairly normal to see at least 100 million shares traded. And some of those days we would see hundreds of millions of shares traded. So now if you want to do a shorter term comparison, today, for example, as I said, it's almost an hour and a half into market open as I'm recording this video, only 14 million shares traded. That is not a big number for NIO. And I believe that if there is a lower or smaller trade volume on the daily side of things, it is easier for shorts, if they are predatory shorts wanting to suppress or control stock price action and keep it down, it's easier for them to do with lower trade volume. And that's why trade volume is, first of all, the only thing we can track real time day to day, because the FTD data is always delayed lag data. But then also, I think it's an indicator if we see, even in the short term, after the second quarter earnings, when NIO stock did make its most recent move up with the stock price, that came along with 100 million shares traded on almost every day that it moved up, versus the under 100 million shares traded were days where it didn't move up, or it either consolidated or moved down. And then after the third quarter earnings, which was pretty recent, and that's why I wanted to wait and see what this latest FTD data would look like, we've only had one day where there was over 100 million shares traded. And look at what happened on that day. A move up for the stock price right here. Now, with this all in play, and us, again, not seeing the most recent, 2 weeks plus of data, not knowing if more of this or even this is going on, all I need to know is that without big trade volume, we're not likely to see big moves up with NIO stock. That's kind of my personal take on it. And it kind of big picture overview, concept overview, looking at all these things over the course of time. But what happens when, for example, sentiment shifts and we see big trade volume come in again, is that when these end up looking more like these with this kind of a move happening. Or is it going to be more gradual, more normal? I don't know, but I just want to keep sharing this data as we get it because, for one thing, it's already delayed lag data. So we're never truly getting to see actual price discovery as it unfolds. And so, with that in mind, I think the easiest indicator is that trade volume in the super short term, followed by the FTDs, which are that delayed lag data that I will continue to cover until we get a clear uptrend with NIO stock. And it's obvious that sentiment, which is the third thing, has shifted in favor of NIO and NIO stock. And quite frankly, I don't mind if it takes another year or two. That's me, because my big picture view remains kind of tied to those three indicators there. The three major growth phases for NIO, the first three are the minimum amount of time that I'm willing to wait. And that's market awareness. The brand is still becoming known. A lot of people here in the US still have no idea what NIO is. And then profitability for the company. Hopefully we'll see it, as William Lee has said, maybe in 2026, but I don't mind if it takes longer. The other for me is the main brand, the premium brand, NIO, delivering 1 million vehicles cumulatively over time. At that point, I think we'll have a better idea of what things like NIO Power look like, what battery as a service looks like, the energy play, the tech play. There's so much that this company has going on. I think for me, if you stuck around to this point, I'll offer this. I think that the way to look at this company is as a holding company that is building out a lot of businesses underneath and within it that it has control of, lots of partnerships, a lot of different revenue streams that will take time to build up and out, but could give it a much larger global footprint. And that's in line with my original view and choice of this company as being an IDE, an innovative driven enterprise. I think those things matter. And that's why I don't mind waiting and doing the long-term thing. But in the short term, I also want to have some awareness and share with others what I think I'm seeing, especially with respect to stock price and recognizing that, hey, maybe we need to see a big change with the trade volume on the daily side of things before we'll see, the short persistence, drop off or for them to back off. And maybe, frankly, maybe what it takes is big money deciding to come back to Chinese stocks. I actually debated about sharing the Alibaba chart with the FTDs because, by the way, they still have elevated FTDs coming in. Alibaba is a very profitable company, and I think that using Alibaba as an indicator for when big money, maybe Wall Street money, is going to flow back into Chinese stocks, that might become more apparent in watching Alibaba. Anyway, just a few of my thoughts. There's a lot more content that I need to come back with. I'm so far behind on it, but I will try to get caught up here in the next couple of weeks, because after 7 weeks of dealing with a virus, I'm finally feeling more like myself again. So hopefully with the uptick in energy levels, I'll be able to get more content out. Anyway, thanks for sticking around to the end. If you, in fact, stuck around to the end, have a great day. I'll see you all again very soon.